and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jessie, also known as Miss Cherry, and if you're a returning subscriber, what's up? Welcome back. I'm so happy that you're here today. Today we are doing another installment of Mermaid Monday in celebration of the Little Mermaid live action film. I am a huge Little Mermaid fan, specifically of the animated film from back in 1989. I have a massive Little Mermaid collection, and we're going to be doing a deep dive into the different categories of my collection so I can share it with you all. And today we're going to be diving into my massive Little Mermaid pin collection. It actually consists of 7 boards, which I know is so much. So a little bit about my pin collection. I started collecting back in 2011. It really, I mean, it was casual collecting at that point, but it really started becoming an obsession of mine back in 2016. Oh, Telly's here. Telly wants to say hi. Hey, say hi. This is Telly. She's my 16-year-old kitty cat. Also, she made her debut as Ariel this week too. So if you're interested in seeing that video, I'll link my social media down below for you so you can see her being super cute. But anyway, and I would say from then on, it has been like my main focus to like have an incredible Little Mermaid pin collection. So each of my boards are categorized into different characters. I have a lot of fantasy pins, so I wanted to explain what fantasy pins are. So fantasy pins are pins that are created by independent artists that are not Disney licensed. So this is outside of like the Disney copyright realm. It's just independent people who create these pins. So I have a ton of those. I will do my very best to tell you who these pins are by. There are so many pins, you guys. I think I'm going to be doing like a little overview, highlight some of the ones that I really love, just so you know kind of what they are. But if there's anything that you see in these boards that you have questions on, please leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to get you that information on those pins. I've got all of my pin boards beside me, and so let's go ahead and take a deep dive into my epic Little Mermaid pin collection. Let's do this. So here's one of the smallest boards. This happens to be the Christmas board. This is one of my favorites from a mystery pin set from, I believe it was last year. I think it's so funny how Ariel is a snowman and has like little snow seashell bra on. And then this is such a beautiful fantasy pin that is Christmas themed. She's got like a little Christmas wreath and she's hanging little Christmas balls. And it does have a little dinglehopper with a little bow on it. The Beach Club often has Little Mermaid themed Christmas pins, so you'll see a lot of Beach Club pins on this pin board. They are usually Little Mermaid themed for the gingerbread house that they have. Now, this is one of my most favorite fantasy pins. This is the Ariel stocking that has Flounder and a dinglehopper and that beautiful flower that she gives Daddy. I think this is such a gorgeous pin, especially with all of the beautiful glitter. Now, these are hilarious, especially this one. Look how excited he is about his Christmas wreath. I love it. And then last but certainly not least, this will always be one of my most favorite pins. This is actually one of my very first fantasy pins I've ever purchased. This is a Merry Christmas snow globe that has Eric and Ariel dancing, and Ariel does have a little bit of white fur lining on her dress to represent Christmas time, and I just thought it was so cute and so unique. Here is my Ursula and Vanessa board. Now, I have shown my Ursula collection in a previous video before, but this includes a lot newer pins that I've added to my collection since then. I did that back, I believe, in 2020. So I do have a lot of themed areas of my pin board. This happens to be just the regular Ursula pins. And this is a very large fantasy pin, as is this one. I love this one so much. It has some really amazing details, especially with Ursula holding the contract. I believe that this is a Disney Chris pin. Rival Reflection. I think it's a Disney Chris pin. That is the fantasy pin seller This is a Disney Studio Store Hollywood pin. This pin is really special. This was actually for the, I believe it was the 30th anniversary of Disneyland Paris, and they had a Little Mermaid as well as Ursula fountain, and this is the actual fountain that's there. And by fountain, I mean, it's basically like a really fancy windmill, but I think they were calling them fountains. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's where this one came from. And I believe it's an LE as well. Yeah, limited edition of 500, so very small limited edition. Now, I have to say I love these style of pin boards with the white because I think it makes all your pins pop, but I really hate how it really shows where you've had pins in the past. Now, this next section of my pin board is my absolute favorite. Look at this incredible fantasy pin. This is where Daddy is the poor unfortunate soul. His crown, you can also see the other poor unfortunate souls. You can see his trident coming down from the heavens. I mean, not the heavens, but the top of the ocean. I have no idea who created this pin, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And just so you know, fantasy pins are very difficult to find out who made them because they're avoiding copyright, right? And so when they do that, they don't like to put like their company name on the back of them. They only like to put like maybe the name or the LE. This one is completely blank. And so I'll do my best to find out where this one is from. Then we also have Papa T and Poor Unfortunate Soul. This is just everything. I love this portion of my pin board. It's got Ursula taking the voice, her looking at Ariel, seeing her in the city. We've got all different little portions of her potion. This pin is so cool. This is also a fantasy pin, but I just think it's amazing. It's got the tentacles as well as the hands that are going to grab her voice. So very cool. There she is signing the contract. This is a Disney licensed pin. This is one of my favorite little shrimp pins. This is a pin that is a fantasy pin. I got it on Etsy, and she uses this little shrimp in one of the scenes. There's the shell. We also have her reading a book of spells. This is a really beautiful keychain that happens to be the contract, which I thought was super neat. And so I wanted to display it on this pin board. This pin here is the Windows of Evil pin. It was probably one of my most valuable pins in my entire collection. This pin is a limited edition pin. It's extremely hard to get a hold of. It's a limited edition of 2,000. It goes for a lot of money on eBay. I could probably make a lot of money off of this pin, but I love this pin so much. It's part of my collection, and I don't collect to resell. Now, this fantasy pin is absolutely epic. This is why I love fantasy pins so much. Can we look and appreciate all of the details in this pin? The alternative coloration of Ursula. Look at the details in the little hands that are wisping around Ariel to grab her voice from within. So beautiful. Ariel is in this green color. She looks terrified. And I just think that this is so stunning. This is a limited edition of 40, and I'm so sorry. I do not know who created this pin. I have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. It looks to me like a yo-yo, but I don't know if it's a yo-yo. But yeah, such a cool pin. Moving along smartly, we are going into the Flotsam and Jetsam area of the pin board, and yes, I did do that. There was just enough pins with them that I felt like they needed a little bit of a place to shine. This was from the pin event, I think from 2019 when they did all the animals. It says Jetsam and Flotsam, and it's funny because it looks like a little dog tag, but I thought that that color or like that font was just so boring in comparison to how cute that pin was. It was just kind of a funny choice. I think this was a limited edition. Yeah, limited edition of 250. Very hard to get a hold of pin. And then as we're moving along, lots and lots of Flotsam and Jetsam pins. This pin is pretty cool. It is Ursula, and it has Eric and Ariel that kind of swirl around her. You can see the little rowboats. Such a neat pin. This is an actual Disney pin, and I think it was from 2005. It's very, very old. This is a very cool pin. This is also a fantasy pin that came out. I believe Disney did a series that was all princesses, and then this fantasy pin seller did one that was all villains, which I thought was so cool. There's a little poor unfortunate soul down here, the contract, Flotsam and Jetsam. It is just so pretty. Limited edition of 75. This pin is very difficult to get a hold of. This is the Disney Studio Store Hollywood 30th anniversary of the Little Mermaid pin, and I chose very wisely because I really could only find a few of them in my price range. I actually got very lucky. I went to this thrift store in Florida and found this pin, and I was so excited. This was the number one that I wanted because it features all of the poor unfortunate souls on the bottom of this pin. It also has a clear stained glass element, which I thought was very cool. Flotsam and Jetsam are very rare, and so I just was so very excited. This pin cost me a pretty penny. It was about $75, which was a little bit crazy, but she's a limited edition of 400. They do have an entire series that are this style for the 30th anniversary, but that's the only one I have from that. And it does say 30 here in the top corner. We've got some masks, a really interesting like sardine can style fantasy pin. This pin is stunning. I love the grins. Flotsam and Jetsam have this wild and crazy grin, and so does Ursula. It's such a cool pin. This is a LE of 75. It is a fantasy pin. This pin was a Pink Owl Mode exclusive. This is like their cutie series for the villains. I think it's very cute. And then, oh yeah, this was from Halloween a few years ago. It's got Flotsam and Jetsam on the outside of the pin. And then on the inside, it says 2018 Trick or Treat. There is a fantasy pin seller on Etsy that sells these sweater pins that I think are really fun. And then here is Ursula on her throne, which is hilarious. I just think it's so cute. Moving on to Vanessa. Now, I am so very proud of the Vanessa pins that I have. I feel like I have a very extensive collection. Most all of them are fantasy pins. This one is not a fantasy. This one here in the corner is not a fantasy. This reflections pin, oh my gosh. So this pin is a stunner. So this actually accompanies an Ariel, which when we get to the Ariel pin board, I will show you what it looks like together. Such a stunning combination, and I prefer to keep them separate, but when they are together, they are very, very beautiful. This pin is one of my newest additions. I think it's hilarious. Again, the detail of these fantasy pins is just wild. So this is the scene where they are thwarting Vanessa. You've even got the dolphins. You've got the birds flying underneath her skirt. Scuttle is pulling on the necklace. You've got this little like lobster crab guy. It's amazing. And Spirited made it. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it is called Wedding Disaster. It's a limited edition of 50. One of my most prized pins in my collection. I just love it. Then we've got this really stunning Vanessa with Flotsam and Jetsam. Another Disney crisp pin that is a comparison of Ariel and Vanessa in their wedding dresses. This is a really fun crossover pin that features Vanessa as Constance Hatchaway in the Haunted Mansion. It even has an Eric poster. It features a cake that has Eric and Vanessa on the top. She also is holding a hatchet. It's just such a cool crossover. This is another new pin. This is Vanessa, but she is as Ursula with Daddy's Trident, as well as a crown. This is by C. Taylor, and this is 46 out of 100, but isn't that a stunner? And then we have more Vanessa here. Vanessa in a wedding dress. One of my most favorite pin designers of all time, Yo-Yo Pinstar. She is incredible. This is one of hers. This is actually a piece of jewelry that she makes, but I transferred it into being a part of my pin board because it's too beautiful not to display. And then this here is a Disney Chris pin. She also does really good quality pins. And this is just I think they call it a cluster of all of the different characters. But why it's on my Ursula board is because Ursula kind of encompasses all of them within her tentacles, which is really fun. Oh yeah, one more I want to show you. This is also a Yo-Yo Pin Star. This is a crossover between Vanessa and Orange is the New Black, which I thought was really clever. So there is my Ursula and Vanessa pin board. Moving on to the Eric and Ariel with legs pin board. Let's get started. We're gonna start over here at the bottom with the Kiss the Girl scene. So I have to say, I think Loungefly pins are getting better and better. This is actually a small Loungefly pin set, which I was very impressed by. And then we've got quite a few fantasy pins. This is obviously a fantasy pin here that has her kind of daydreaming about Eric, with Eric in all of the different little scenes of them in the city, kissing on the beach, and then her saving him. I thought this was really cute. This one is also very cute, where they have like little seashells around them. This here is one of my most favorites. It's such a stunning pin. Has a really gorgeous heart that goes around the two of them. I also feel like they're kind of in an alternative pose. Typically, they're kind of like looking into each other's eyes in this scene. This is a limited edition of 50. I do not know who the fantasy pin seller is, but can we appreciate that Sebastian just singing his little heart out? I love it. I love it. This is a Disney pin trading night from 2022. This is from Hong Kong Disney, and I don't know if it's coming up on camera. There we go. But they are actually pin trading with each other, which I thought was so cute. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. This is one of the newest ones I've added to my collection. Just thought it was very unique and very different. Another Disney Studios Store Hollywood pin, a couple more fantasy pins. This is a pin that was given to me. One of you guys, thank you so much for sending me this gorgeous pin. And then this pin is so cool. So I love art, and this is just a tiny canvas where Scuttle is showing off the canvas. I thought that was so cool. It is a Kiss the Girl scene. It's an actual canvas. It's called Masterpiece Theater, limited edition of 50, and this was from 2018. I love this pin. I live for this pin. It is just so very cool. Now, you hardly ever see anything unique like that where it's like a different medium other than metal, so I really think that's really neat. There's Eric and Ariel dancing. And then as we're going over, we're gonna go into the green dress. So yes, we have a green dress portion of the pin board. And this is another newer one. This is a newer Disneyland Paris pin, and I fell in love with this pin. I just think that Ariel looks so beautiful. She's holding a really stunning mirror. She's dinglehoppering her hair, and Sebastian looks super happy. This one is just an open edition. It was from 2022. And as we're moving down, plenty of more green dress pins. Moving on to the pink dress pin. There is Ariel eating a sundae. This is a fun one. This is a Loungefly pin, but you can actually move her hand back and forth, and she can dinglehopper her bangs, which I think is so great. And then this is a really cute pin. I believe that this was for Valentine's Day one year. It says, "You were mermaid for me, Valentine 2019. More pink dress pins. This is a Disney Chris fantasy pin. I love how sparkly this pink dress is here. Also, it's kind of hard to see, but in the background, it's Eric's statue and Ariel kind of resting on his statue, which I thought was such a cool detail. Again, Disney Chris. This pin is beautiful. So this pin has all of those gorgeous glitter details in her dress. It also has this like really beautiful shimmering blue color on the back. This is an Acme pin or Artland, which is actually Disney licensed, and it's an LE of 300. So stunning. This is also an Acme pin that is a Disney licensed pin, one of my most beautiful pins in my collection, Ellie 500. We're gonna move on to the Max area of the pin board, as well as Ariel in her sail. So here she is. This is a yo-yo pin design and my favorite pin designer. And then we've got a fantasy pin of Max. I feel so lucky that I've got so many Max pins. I feel like there are a few more that I definitely need to get into my collection. But the ones that I have, I really like. This one in particular is really cool. I like that they included like this rope that kind of goes around the edge. It also has Ariel in her sail, as well as Eric's castle in the background. It has an entire like monologue of the Hans Christian Andersen Little Mermaid on the back, which is wild. And then it says a limited edition of 50. So I've not spent the time reading that, but I mean, you could pause it probably, take a peek. This is another yo-yo pin design of Eric as a Mouseketeer, which I think is so very fun and clever. This is another newer fantasy pin. I love this pin. It's like a gorgeous alternative pose, alternative costume for Eric. He's also holding his flute. It's just not something you see very commonly. Limited edition of 40. Next, we're going to be moving on to just Eric and Eric miscellaneous, I guess. This pin we've got to talk about. This is an actual profile pin. It is probably the pin that holds the most value out of my entire collection. I don't know what it's worth right now, but it is in a perfect condition. I also have all the original backing and packaging for it. I would never sell it though. Limited edition of 250. Probably my most prized possession in my Little Mermaid collection happens to be this guy right here. It was very, very difficult to get a hold of. And someday I hope to own Ariel, but there's no way that I can afford her. She's going for like $1,500 right now. No joke. Or maybe even more than that now. I haven't looked anytime recently. But for right now, we will handle we can handle having Eric in the profile form. Now these two are another one of my favorites. This was a collection that they did for, I believe it came out around Valentine's Day, but it was Prince and Princess mystery pins. And I just thought these pins are so flipping beautiful. I just love that they're straight on facing like the camera, and they both have stained glass elements. I just love it. So one of my most favorite pins there as well. More fantasy pins here. Another nesting doll pin. Nesting doll pin, we'll find all of the other nesting dolls throughout. I think I showed you one of the Max ones. Those are from Disneyland Paris. Now this is a Castles pin. This happens to be from Disney Chris, the fantasy pin seller. And then there's another Disney Chris there. That is a really stunning pin with that gorgeous gold framing. And then we've got lots of Eric statue pins. Most all of those, I think all of those actually are licensed. And that is our Eric and Ariel with legs pin. Welcome to King Triton and Ariel's wedding pin board and Ariel's sisters. Okay, so we've got to start here with this gorgeous fantasy pin. One of the largest pins that I own. I don't know who it was by, but it's a limited edition of 50, and I think it is just so very cool. As we move our way down, we have a lot of pins that are of Papa Triton's castle or Daddy's castle. This one happens to be from that castle collection from Disney Chris. I think this pin in particular is super stunning with all of that coral detail, and it also has some glitter detail as well. Ooh, this pin is so beautiful. Ellie of 75. This is part of that nesting doll set that I showed you in Prince Eric's board. A couple of other small fantasy pins. This one is really cool. So it's got like this, I call it fencing, but it's probably not fencing. But look at that. Isn't that neat? So it's like a really nice little kind of peekaboo of Ariel and Daddy Triton's castle. Here are the King Triton pins. This is a pin that I have an Eric one just like it from the same fantasy pin seller. They're very much all about the abs, which I think is hilarious. And then we've got this little guy. Oh my gosh, I love this guy. I don't know what his name is, but he is that little seahorse that announces King Triton. We've even got the dolphin chariot. Who doesn't love a dolphin chariot? And then we got a faux profile. This is not the real profile pin, just so you know, but it's similar to the profile pins that are out there. Moving on up, we've got the wedding scene. I love these wedding pins. This pin in particular, I love that blue glitter in the background. That is a fantasy pin, as is this stunner. Let's take a better look at this one. This glitter in this pin is just to live for. We love it. I love that she's splashing. You can see like her enjoying her brand new feet. Ellie of 50. And this is from Miss Miko pins. We've got Eric and Ariel greeting King Triton. And then as you can see in the corner here, Scuttle is holding up Flounder. There we go. Whoops, sorry. This is a pin that's a hinge pin. It has Ursula and Ariel, but I wanted it to be on the wedding scene. And then this one's kind of cute too. It's like a little clamshell that lifts up and you can see the two of them in their wedding scene. This I love. This is King Triton and Ariel hugging during the wedding scene. A really beautiful pin. It says mermaid on the top, and I love how Ariel looks in this pin. I think it's so stunning. And then the super cute scene where she's kissing Flounder. Oh my gosh, I love it. This is a really beautiful fantasy pin, one of my newest pins that I've gotten, and I think it's so pretty, especially with like this little coral element at the bottom, and he's like looking so lovingly at Ariel. And there is another fantasy pin of Ariel and King Triton hugging. And then a couple of pins with Ariel in her silver dress. I don't have much of her in her silver dress. Those are the only two that I have. And then as we move down, this was a fantasy pin that was celebrating the 30th anniversary. And then we are down to all of the sisters, which I was very surprised. I actually had more sisters pins than I recall. I just moved the sister pins all together, and so it was kind of fun to see them all together as one. Now this pin is so cool. This happens to be a yo-yo pin. It's a limited edition pin, and how stunning. I love that she actually has all of the sisters with all of their tails showing. Also, we have so many amazing mermaid hair moments going on in this, and Atina, who is my favorite sister, is like front and center. I love Atina's crown. I think she's so beautiful. And I am missing just one sister in these hidden Mickey pins. I'm missing Atina, so I'm gonna be on the search for her. These mystery pins of the sisters and Papa Triton I just opened over on my collectibles channel, which I'll link down below. And then this is the King Triton board. Welcome to the Ariel pin board. Now, this Ariel pin board is her as a mermaid. That is what the theme of all of these pins are. There honestly really isn't much rhyme or reason to this board. It is just straight Ariel with her as her mermaid self. This is one of my most faves. I work in the construction industry, and this is Ariel in a construction outfit, showing the Little Mermaid Ariel's undersea adventure plans from 2011 when they built her ride in Disney California Adventure. I love this pin so much. I think it's a limited edition. It's a limited edition of 250, and this was Walt Disney Imagineering, and I believe that this was given to all of the cast members that worked on the design and construction of this ride, which is so very cool. One of my most prized possessions. I love it so much. And as we are moving up, I'm just gonna do a little overview so you can see We've got this really fun pin. This is an artist proof that my friend Karen from Karen's USA Adventures, also Karen does Disneyland Paris pickups. She is amazing. She got this for me. It's signed by the artist, which is so cool. It's also a limited edition, a very low limited edition, which is so very cool. We've got this pin that opens up to the actual VHS, which I thought was so very clever and so cool. We also have a couple of fantasy pins. This is a fantasy pin that's so beautiful. It is a limited edition of 50. This is also a yo-yo pin. Now this is the counterpart to the Vanessa pin. And then this fantasy pin is brand new to my collection. I love black and white pins so much. I think they are so stunning, and I will show you another one that is black and white very shortly, but I just fell in love with the look of this pin and also the alternative look that Ariel has. I've never seen her look like that before in merchandise before. Another really gorgeous Acme pin or Artland pin. This is another 30th anniversary. I showed you the Ursula counterpart of this one for Disneyland Paris. And as we go down, lots more fantasy pins. Now this pin, there are a few pins that are right here in the center that remind me of my childhood. This one in particular, I really love. All these heart ones, look how cute she looks. I love her. And then this one here with that glitter just reminds me of the 90s so very much. This really beautiful pin in the center is also another fantasy pin. As we are moving down the board, here's another nesting doll pin that we kind of talked about earlier. Down here we have a lot of treats pins, so you can see like we've got lots of ice cream, we've got cake, and there's some more ice cream there and some perfume, and this says sweet, so I thought that was kind of cute to put all of those together. This is a Loungefly pin. They actually made a, oh, I can't move that, it's too tight against the board, but they made this into an actual bag from Loungefly. Here is another black and white pin that I'm obsessed with. This is another yo-yo pin. How gorgeous is Ariel in her 1950s look with her dinglehopper. So stunning. There is a Jessica Rabbit crossover, which you don't see very often. We also have a new live action Little Mermaid pin. That's my first live action Little Mermaid pin I've gotten so far. This pin made me fall in love with fantasy pins. This was my very first fantasy pin, and oh my goodness, I am obsessed with it. It's a limited edition of 25. It's extremely hard to find. Friend Jen got me in contact with this guy and he was able to find it for me, which I appreciated so much. It's so stunning. And then this is all cavern pins, which is really fun. We've got some of the little music box people, some thingamabobs. We've got a little VHS there at the top, and there's more pins over here in the center. But there is the Ariel pin board. We are now on to the Scuttle and Sebastian pin board. We're gonna start with the Scuttle area. A fantasy pin in the center is so beautiful. I thought it deserved like a place to shine, and I thought the Scuttle pin board was perfect for that. One of my favorite areas of the Scuttle pin board, although there aren't a ton of Scuttle pins, is the dinglehopper area. There are 3 pins with him holding a dinglehopper and then 2 dinglehopper pins. As we move down, we're going into the Sebastian area. So here's all the Sebastian pins. This pin is so fun. Another new one for my collection. As we go down, this is a Grin pin. This was from one of the mystery pin sets they did a few years back. This pin here, I love so much. I think that Ariel, her expression, also the expression of Flounder and Sebastian is so beautiful. I don't even know the details of this pin. Okay, so it is an Artland pin, which is a Disney licensed pin. Artland and Acme are the same company. Acme is the older version. The newer version is Artland. So Acme changed its name to Artland a few years ago. So that's an Artland pin, which makes sense because they make absolutely beautiful pins. And as we are moving down, we're heading towards the under the sea portion of the board. I love these pins. These were sent to me by Deandra. Deandra, thank you so much. She's a viewer of the channel, been a friend of the channel for many years, and she sent these beautiful, beautiful pins to me, and I am obsessed with them. So it's the fish from the Under the Sea song. This is a really cool Sebastian pin that has like a rubberized free D element, F-R-E-E-D. That's what that is called, where it's got like the rubberized element. Yep, Disney Studio Store Hollywood LE of 400, another pretty rare one to find, but I really like this Under the Sea area of the board. Next is the Flounder pin board. So we have lots and lots of fun Flounder pins. This pin in particular was one that was on my must-have list for many, many years. This is the Flounder and Sebastian bow pin, and this was from Disney Studio Store Hollywood, limited edition of 400, a very difficult pin to find. I love that pin so much. I love their facial expressions, and I think they are so very cute. And then as we move down, we've got another really rare pin. This is another pin from the Disney Studio Store Hollywood, limited edition of 300. This is their watercolor series, and I wanted this one so very bad. I actually had to wait a couple of years to get it as well, and I'm so thankful that I did. It cost me a pretty penny, but I love all things art and all things creative, and so this just really, really spoke to me. So I'm so happy to have that in my collection now. And then this is a Hong Kong pin that I think is so cute, a hidden Mickey Hong Kong pin where Flounder is a hot air balloon. And then here he is with thingamabobs, which I thought was very cute, like kind of almost showing him off. And then this pin is one of the newer pins to my collection. This was a, I think it was called the Jewel series. I can't remember exactly. Limited edition of 1500. And I think this was from 2021. But they came out with those back in 2021, and they each had these really cool like rhinestones on them with the character and then some large image behind them. Really cool pin. This is a fantasy pin of the shark scene, which was such a neat pin. I think it is, yeah, this one is a yo-yo pin, limited edition of 50. I just love how unique that pin is. Such a cool focal point, I think, for this pin board. Also, there happens to be a lot of teacup pins, and so we put them all together here, which I thought was kind of fun. I think that Flounder kind of swimming in this teacup is so adorable. And as we move down more with Ariel and Flounder together, this one is a very cute pin. I believe that this is also a fantasy pin by Yo-Yo, limited edition of 50. And I do want to point out, this is actually a piece of jewelry by Betsy Johnson. She did a collection for Disney for the Little Mermaid 30th, and I like to keep this on my pin board. I actually need to display it a little bit better. It's just kind of hanging right now on a thumbtack, but I wanted this to be more of a focal point of this pin board. It is quite the stunner. It's got really beautiful rhinestones. I also love this like coral detail with this really pretty like mother of pearl kind of rhinestone inside of it. Such a cool pin. It's meant to be a brooch, but I think it's really nicely displayed on my pin board. So this is a framed Kiss the Girl pin. It's a jumbo pin. They were selling these during the 30th anniversary. I'm gonna do some up close. I actually have this turned upside down to try to prevent some of the glare from the camera, but there we go. That's what the pin looks like. It is a very large, 5 inches wide by like 4 inches tall. Pretty decent sized pin. It also comes with a certificate of authenticity because this is a limited edition of 500, and it is a very expensive pin. Also one that I will keep in my collection forever due to it being the 30th anniversary of this film. Thank you so much for watching this. If you made it to the end of this video, you are the real MVP. Leave a mermaid emoji down in the comments down below to let me know if you made it, because Thank you if you did. I appreciate that so much. Also, I would love to know which of these pins really spoke to you. Was there any ones that were your favorite or you thought was unique or you have questions on? Leave a comment down below if you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe for lots more Disney magic, Disney travel videos, and also a massive Walt Disney World haul video that's coming very, very soon. And I will see you guys in the next video. TTFN, bye!